Hey everyone, and welcome back, and thank you for tuning in again live today. It is Monday, November 25th. It is noon, and thank you for watching the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. I am your host, Jason Leeser, and if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chat, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. Whether it's someone trying to get their first tattoo, someone that wants to become a tattoo artist, um, maybe even it's a tattoo artist that's already established and they're looking for some more information. Tag everyone you know, please. We're always trying to get some new people in here, some fresh perspectives, and some engaging conversation. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day and with your help have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on-demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. And if I am good, there we go. Let's see. Oh, nope, wrong one. There we go. You can try it out for free. There's no obligation to subscribe right away. You can pick one of three different options that we have for you to check it out. The first option is to take a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, where you get to go through and get a behind the scenes look at what it's like to have a Reinventing the Tattoo subscription. Or option number two is you can get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals. Maybe it's something that you should work on improving or something that you want to focus on. Maybe it's something that you haven't thought of before. The third option is to take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. Absolutely phenomenal course. Highly recommend it for fellow tattoo history enthusiasts such as myself. You will not be disappointed in that. Trust me on that. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details. For example, if you wanted to jump into today's show, you could navigate over to reinventingthetattoo.com, go to the events area, and pull up a calendar with all of the upcoming live streams that we have going on if you wanted to jump into one or two of those. You also have access to the Reinventing 24/7 channel while there. That has 12 to 15 episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all web-enabled devices, whether it's a tablet, a laptop, a smart TV with a browser, the whole nine, it's all available. While there, you can also find access to professional development courses from over 20 world-class tattoo artists. Artists like Andre Malcolm, BJ Betts, and Bob Tyrell, just to name a few. You can find us in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which is a lot like our Reinventing 24/7 channel. It's got about 12 to 15 episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all Roku-enabled devices. Pretty awesome. You can also find us in all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify, or you can do what most people do and just go to your web browser and do a search for Reinventing the Tattoo, and you'll find it all. Except for the book, which is currently out of print. So good luck with that. You'll probably have to check eBay for that. Once again, if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chat. And please tag a friend who loves tattoos. We have a number of weekly staple shows that we always encourage people to tune into, starting off at 9 a.m. on Mondays with Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we get to go through and discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies, different fine art principles. It helps us get back to our roots of being a fine artist in the tattoo world. Following that show, we have this show, which is the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group with me, Jason Leeser, where we go through and we work on developing some of our skill sets, whether it's communication, whether it's convention prep, drawing skills, layout and composition. We're always trying to work on building up our skills during this show. Following this show at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew, and that is Monday evenings at 9 p.m. And you will have to have a subscription in order to access those Monday evening drawing groups. I can tell you right off the bat that those drawing groups alone are worth their weight in gold. I did them consistently for about 2 years. And if you look at the work that I was doing before I started doing those Monday evening drawing groups and the work that I'm doing now, there is a monumental level of difference between the two. On Tuesdays at 11 a.m., we have the Tattoo Weekly show where we get to go through and discuss current events in the tattoo industry. Maybe it's new laws and regulations being passed. Maybe it's new developments with tattoo pigments. Anything that might impact the industry as a whole, you can find that on Tuesdays, 11 a.m., the Tattoo Weekly show. Following that on Wednesdays at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to go through and discuss a lot more of the business aspect behind tattooing. Things such as travel visas or marketing and advertising strategies. Maybe it's client booking process and a better way to streamline that. All of that and a whole lot more. That's Wednesdays at noon, the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley. We do have a special event coming up, the International Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention, December 6th, 7th, and 8th in beautiful San Juan, Puerto Rico. Feel free to join me, James Wisdom, Steve Butcher, Devin Cooley, Jimmy DeLessio, Ryan Ashley, Kevin Bledsoe, Derb Morrison, and a whole bunch more insanely talented, really, really great tattooers for this absolutely incredible destination vacation tattoo convention. Would like to go through and take a minute and thank some of our sponsors, some of the people that make these shows happen. Starting off with WorldTattooEvents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything updated. As we know, living in a post-pandemic era, there's still tattoo events and conventions getting rescheduled like crazy. So if you want the latest, most up-to-date tattoo event or convention information coming to a city or town near you, maybe it's one you plan on visiting. That's how I book all my vacations. Take a look at worldtattooevents.com, and I can guarantee you will not be disappointed. Would also like to thank TattooNow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They're 100% competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you're really looking for the digital tools to help you streamline your booking process, to help you get more clients through the door, and to make that booking process a lot easier, take a look at TattooNow.com. They've been doing this for over 20 years, and they are definitely the authority in how to do it. Would also like to thank GuyAitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. Go to GuyAitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his tutorial DVDs. I believe he still has a few custom coil machines for sale, as well as countless fine art prints and the occasional oil painting, all for sale at GuyAitchison.com. Would also like to say a very quick and special thank you and shout out to Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries. It's usually where I tell people to go through if they want more information on getting a tattoo apprenticeship. Take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries podcast with Amy Nichols. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, make sure to go through and hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom of the page. That way you can stay up to date with all of the future episodes coming to you right here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. Please go through, post a positive review on the channel, help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, or become a sponsor of our community, or if you're looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com. And that kind of wraps up our intro for today. We've got James with us today. What's up, James? Don't know if you're there or not. Looks like you're still
What's up,
muted.
Jason?
There you are.
I think I'm here. Oh, over here. Hold on.
There we go.
Yo.
Yo. So,
Long time no see.
I know, right? It's been what,
We're
like a
just
whole
uh,
hour?
just hanging out.
Yeah. So I did want to go over some convention prep today. This is part two of convention prep. Um, just some things that I've picked up on the road. I've worked at quite a few tattoo conventions over quite a few years, and these are just little things that I know have helped me out. Things, lessons I've learned. Maybe they'll help you. Maybe they won't. Who knows? But I did want to go over pre-drawn designs. If you have designs that you've drawn up that you really want to tattoo, bring them with you. Um, do not, do not bring super huge designs with you. Don't bring like full sleeves or leg sleeves or full side pieces. Unless someone reaches out to you in advance and tells you that they want to book something like that with you, do yourself a favor, just don't bring it. Um, for the amount of time that you're going to spend working on something like that at a convention, it's going to be a nightmare. I've been there, I've done that, and it's not going to go over well. I always try to tell people the biggest pre-drawn design you should probably bring with you is an 8.5 by 11 piece of letter paper, and even that's pushing it. Because if someone sees it and they really like it and they want to get it done, but it's halfway through Saturday and you already have Sunday booked, well, they're kind of SOL, right? Because it's going to take you quite a few hours to execute that from start to finish. Um, so I always say, try not to go any smaller than like 2 inches by 2 inches, um, or, slightly bigger than a golf ball. Uh, I usually like to bring baseball and softball size designs. They're quick. They only take a couple hours to bang out if you want to do them start to finish. And when I say a few hours, something like that in a studio, like a home studio, yeah, you could probably knock it out in an hour and a half, maybe two. But when you're traveling for a convention, setup time needs to be included, breakdown time needs to be included, finding all your supplies needs to be included, getting everything done and having time to run the stencil needs to be included. So there's a lot of other things that you need to factor in when you're doing these designs at a tattoo convention. I don't typically bring anything bigger than like a softball, maybe a little bit bigger, but that's about it. And as time goes on and time wears down through the convention, I actually start removing those bigger designs from the table because I know I'm not going to have time to execute them. You know, if you're fully booked up and you've got a full weekend booked with appointments, don't even bother putting out pre-drawn designs because no one's going to be able to get them anyway. So what's the sense, right?
No, I
Um,
I like that very much, and it's very practical.
yeah,
And having some convention experience, it's true. It's an open market.
yeah,
Generally, that's the convention scene. There's many booths with many offerings, and so
yes,
how do you differentiate yourself? And likely, unless you are booked, then it is a spur of the moment, decision. So
correct.
again, put out your that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to, I'm going to put out the work that I like, and again, it would be appropriate for the occasion.
If you
Limited
can,
limited time frame, and then and again, it's convention too. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean you do bad work. It means you
right,
do like it's slightly smaller scale, or you're starting something.
right.
I definitely you see that at conventions. You start larger projects that you're gonna get back to next time. So
If you're gonna bring like sketches with you, even if they're not like fully rendered designs, if you're gonna bring sketches with you, one little trick that I found that really, really helps is print them out. Take your monochromatic sketch, but print it out in a color. Catch people's eye, right? If you print it out in like black and gray, it's going to kind of fade in and it's not really going to pop into people's eye. If you bring it, but it's done in like all red values or blues or greens, it's a lot more likely that it's going to catch someone's eye. And that's ideally what you want to do. It's a strategy to go through and get people to come over to your booth where you then have the chance to sell them on getting tattooed by you because you're only there for a limited time, right? So you need to make that sale. In order to make that sale, you need to catch people's eye. You know, have your designs up on a backing board, right? I've learned this and it's worked really, really well ever since I started doing it. Get some little COVID plexiglass clamps, right? And you can use that as a backing board. Grab some cheap mat board off of Amazon, use that as your backing board, and then tape all of your designs to that. That way, it's going to be more at eye level to people walking through the show. Plus, if your designs are printed out in color, it's going to snag their attention more than if they were just in black and gray. And now you've got people like, oh, what's this green thing over here? Oh, let me take a look. Oh, that's pretty dope. You know?
Yeah,
So
something to
it's,
break up. Yeah, something to catch their attention. Again, it's like the people that are there to be sold too, right? I mean, that's an
yeah,
important caveat. Like, we want to, we do. It's a non-set. It's the non-pressure pitch, but of course, it's sort of this. You're facilitating them getting this done. That they connected with something
right.
about the design. They connected with something about, and then maybe you, like maybe that's a part of it too. But yeah, people that are
Yeah.
there, it's a fun thing to do if you go there to get a little tattoo. So
Yeah.
if you're going, stop by the booth.
Now,
We should have some openings.
keep in mind, just because you print it out in color doesn't mean you have to do it in color. There are
Totally.
a lot of artists that when they travel, they only work in black and gray. And that cuts down on their weight. It cuts down on everything that they have to bring with them because they know they're only going to be doing black and gray tattoos
Hmm.
all weekend.
Sure.
Um, maybe they'll bring like a couple of half-ounce bottles of color to do like color accents. Um, you know, blue for the eyes of a wolf, red for the eyes of a tiger, or red in a playing card. Like it's become a huge thing, and that's cool. Uh, Personally, I bring colors anyway, and I'm always willing and happy to lend them out to different people. Here, go through, feel free to use it. Take a look, let me know what you think, right? Um, Granted, I will only bring maybe a half ounce of each color with me. Um, and there's a whole strategy to bringing colors with you, how you wrap them, and all that stuff. I find soy sauce bottles tend to work really, really well. But the problem with that is that there are certain conventions that might not allow you to use them just because they don't have a lot number, they don't have an expiration date, and they don't know if that really is what you say it is. So
Yeah.
it kind of gets into a gray area.
No, I think you're totally right. It's uh, there are a lot of practical seeming solutions to some of these issues. However, it just doesn't work. Like you said,
Yeah.
if we're carrying the products that were going to be used for tattoo process, they need to be in the proper containers. I had this. I brought like a little container of soap with me one time, and I was at convention, and they're like, no,
Yeah.
like no, we need soap. Like I don't know what the hell's in this little weird bottle you brought. I'm like, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. I mean, a lot of times we're in the procedure. We've got our wash, but we do have secondary things that we use. So I don't mean to. I don't mean to imply that it's not right. However, the vessel that kind of carries the this ingredient, it needs to be labeled. I think you're totally right about that, Jason.
Yeah.
We have to stick with that. That would lead to less problems. And I certainly, whereas like I know myself, I would do it right, but
Right.
how do you
Exactly.
know? How do you know about like
And you don't.
it's a standard that I think
Yeah.
it helps to make things simple. And the same thing with if you limit your palette
Yep.
just black or to very limited color, the base powder, the base pigments that you were talking about earlier
Yes,
today,
sir.
it simplifies things.
It
And
does.
so, it might be it might be worth it to to really consider limiting what it is you. I mean, you have to make choices. You can't have your whole studio with you, likely.
Right.
Sometimes you are going for a specific project, and then you have to bring you know
Exactly.
particular needles, particular inks, and the like. Um,
If you're doing full color designs and you have a whole bunch of full color, fully rendered designs you're bringing with you, look at them before you pack your colors, right? That'll tell you, oh, I need to bring this vivid lime green with me so I can do, this part of this tattoo if someone wants it. Let me bring this electric blue or bright teal with me so that I can do this design in case someone wants it. A couple of specific colors like that, fine. Bring those with you. Otherwise, stick to your basics. Maybe two or three of each color tone. I've been using a lot more concentrates lately, and then using that to go through and create the different values. So I'll use like a green concentrate, a blue concentrate, a pink concentrate, which is almost a reddish tone, which I can thin out to make any hue of whatever pink I want. But
that's
I'll actually
I've never
bring,
seen that color. That sounds so fascinating. Pink
yeah.
concentrate. Where do you get?
Well,
Who
it's
makes
not
that?
called pink concentrate,
Hmm.
but the base powders, if and you can do this, anyone can do this that's watching. On the labels of your bottles at the studio, you should see a whole bunch of numbers that are called CI numbers. Those are chemical index numbers. Those chemical index numbers will directly tell you exactly which powders and which pure pigments are in that bottle to create that specific color. Some of them are standard across the board, like carbon black is pretty standard. Um, Pure white is pretty standard. So if you hold up a bottle of carbon black and you see the CI number on there, and you see that same CI number in different colors that you have, you know that that CI number is black, and that black is mixed into all of those other colors. Same thing goes with like a blue concentrate or a pure blue. If you look at the CI number and then you look at all of the other blues that you have, you can see that that blue is used in this, and this, right? So now you know that all you need is this one bottle, and you can mix it with this green and it'll create that. Or this, I can mix it with this red and it'll create this purple. So I've really gotten into like analyzing the different base powders that are in the pigments that I use, and it's helped me really cut down the number of pigments that I buy. Um, I'm not saying I don't still have more colors on my shelf that I could use in a year, but you know, it's nice to have something that you can just grab real quick and just be like, perfect, here it is. Don't have to mix it. Shake it, pour it, done. But if you're traveling, you have to think about weight, right? Checked baggage has to be below 50 pounds American in order to get onto a plane. Unless you're press, and there are certain airlines where if you have a press pass, you can get over that weight limit without an extra charge. Um, that was a little tip I got from a photographer friend of mine. They don't typically get press passes until they get to the event. So he basically just printed off his own and he's never had a problem. So it's one way you might be able to get overweight with it.
Wild.
But, I'm not saying circumvent the rules, but it's an option.
Well, I wanted to point out there is a lot of value in really getting to know your materials, and so often it's a good idea to take your paint, do like a little swatch test, um,
Yep.
take your colored pencils, same sort of thing, and again, like you can just sort of see what the colors look like on a particular substrate, right? So a piece of paper or canvas or
Yep.
whatever. Uh, but then there's all kinds of technique practices that you could do where you really are sort of using them, maybe even together, to sort of figure out how they do work. So I like your approach to sort of thinking about your inks. Um, I guess that is like that's a heavy lift, but I definitely like the idea of getting familiar with your media. I think that's so. I certainly know tattooers that still use inks that they make themselves, and like that's fairly niche, but it's an
Yeah.
art. I think of it like an artisanal practice that probably an artisanal craft maybe that should be protected. Um,
Oh, absolutely.
it's not something that I don't see everybody doing it. It's very messy. It's very difficult. There's an art to it, and
There
so
definitely is.
people mixing up their own inks. It used to be the way.
Yeah.
It just used to be the way. So, but now there are big companies that make this ink that we use, and so it'll be interesting to see the landscape.
So one thing I have started to notice in my investigation into pigments is that a lot of companies that are out there, a lot of the major brands tend to use some of the exact same CI pigments across the board, right? Uh, and that's why we ran into such an issue out in Europe with phthalo blue and phthalo green, is because there were lots of different companies that were using the same base powder in all of their colors. Um, so you can kind of see that across the board, whether you like this brand over this brand, or, well, I like this brand's canary yellow and not this brand's canary yellow. They might be the same powders, but it might be the actual vehicle or the pigment binder that's actually different between the brands. And that's where you can get a lot of differences. But back to your point about making pigments, making your own pigments, that was a very heavily guarded secret for a very, very long time. And it's still a lot more difficult to figure that out and to talk to people about that process, unless you know certain people at the higher levels in some of these companies. Then you can kind of ask them like, hey, what are you using for a binder? Is it large flake powder? Is it what kind of a dispersion is it? Is it water based or other? Are you mixing anything else into it? Like, unless you know people at that kind of a level that are actually making it, it's still a pretty closely guarded secret. And it's granted, it's only, or should only be, a couple of very key basic ingredients, but the ratios of those ingredients can vary heavily from brand to brand. If you look at, I think it's Hannah Virginia, or something like that, which is basically witch hazel. It's the chemical name for witch hazel that you'll find in a lot of tattoo pigments, but they won't tell you how much is in there, right? And that's put in there basically as a preservative to prevent mold growth, to prevent any kind of germs. But you'll also find things like glycerin, which is mixed into certain brands. That's used as a thickening and a binding agent. But once again, they don't tell you how much to put in. Um, you know, Distilled water, key ingredient in most tattoo pigments. They don't tell you how much they put in. That's why you might find people, and the CI numbers might be the exact same, but some people might like this over this just because maybe this one puts in less water or less witch hazel. This one doesn't use glycerin. This one, so there's still a lot of variables there with pigments. The one thing I will say that I do really like is a lot of these commercially available pigments will go through an ethylene oxide, sterilize all of their pigments before they get shipped out. And unless you have a large commercial facility to be able to afford to EO sterilize your pigments, is going to cost you an absolute arm and a leg, unless you already have that kind of an industrial facility at your disposal. Um, that's why I kind of stay away from mixing my own. I've done it in the past. It's a very messy process. Requires a lot of patience and a lot of mixing vessels, if you will. But there's no way to know if everything is perfectly sterile when you put it in the bottle, unless you have like a clean room and a clean facility. So personally, I stay away from that. And that's only because I don't want to bottle something up and then have it be contaminated in some aspect with some kind of foreign particle or
Right.
foreign entity.
Right. Yeah. It's just it's very. There's a lot of
Yes.
variables, as you say. There's a lot at stake. So
Yes.
certainly, certainly, I don't think that the individuals making their own ink for their own use for their own clientele, right? They're not subject to manufacturer standards, right? Somebody who's going to manufacture it and sell ink to the industry.
Right. Right.
So that's the difference. That's really the difference as far as that goes. But you're right. It might not want to get involved in all that. Certainly, certainly there is a tradition around it, and so if interested, you would one would have to seek that out and find that very hidden knowledge. But it's still around. So um, the I guess the thing I'm wondering, I wanted to sort of shift back to the convention
Yeah.
idea, and the thing that I'm really wondering is how do you how do you like to get your all your disposable stuff? Do you like to just go there to the location and then find a convenience store and buy all the things that you would need, or do you try to put that in your carry-on? Paper towel roll, like sometimes a lot of time
So that
I will say a lot of times conventions I've almost always seen distilled water there, so that's not
correct.
really something you have to. A gallon of water, I don't think you have to. That's all I don't think I can't recall any time that's not been provided. So just as a thought, but there's so many there's so many things that go into producing a tattoo, and people that do it, there's this laundry list of all the little pieces that you need to make it run. Yeah, how do you like to obtain all those things or get it to where you're going?
So um, I'm very picky about the gloves that I use. So I will actually bring my own gloves. Paper towels, that's a personal preference. I sometimes I'll actually go on Amazon and I'll buy things like lint-free cotton face towels and have them shipped through Amazon to the location. Just because I'm also kind of picky about that. I don't typically bring too much of anything else. Maybe I'll bring a couple of packets of A&D or Vaseline, or whatever I'm going to use as a glide. But other than that, yeah, you can usually pick up anything you need at a local pharmacy. To a local pharmacy, got everything I needed. Gloves. If you use tongue depressors, you can get sterile tongue depressors. I will bring ink caps just because I don't like paying a markup price at conventions for that. Drape sheets, plastic wrap. Plastic wrap you can get at a pharmacy. Uh, they might have a little bit of a markup on it, but it's going to cut down weight when you travel. So maybe you don't want to bring that. Or order it on Amazon, have it delivered to the venue, have it delivered to your hotel room. It works really well, and you don't have to pay for shipping, if you have Amazon Prime. So it works. Otherwise, you can typically find everything else you need: plastic wrap, Vaseline, A&D ointment, anything like that. You can usually get all that kind of stuff at a local store or one of the supply companies that ultimately ends up being at whatever convention you go to. And there's almost always a supply company that's there that has the basic essentials. Um, Bactine, I would buy there. I wouldn't bring it with you if you use Bactine. Things like aftercare, like Tegaderm, Sanoderm, Recovery, anything like that, I will actually bring with me just because I want to make sure that I've got the right size on hand. And once again, if you buy it at the show, they can have a price markup on it. And that's just one more cost that you have to add in to working at the show. Um, Otherwise, I typically go pretty cheap with everything because you don't really need a whole lot. You don't need barrier film if you're traveling, and if you do use plastic wrap, that works just as well. You just do a couple of swirls of it and call it a day. Or you can get some like 2-inch wide shrink wrap. Once again, you can buy that on Amazon before you travel. Use that instead of barrier film if you need to. Uh, Otherwise, it's pretty minimal. I'll bring like one or two big drape sheets, cut those to size, you know, and I've never used more than one whole drape sheet at a convention. Because even if you cut the big ones into quarters, you're not going to use more than a quarter of one at a time. So, because you typically, the massage tables aren't that big. If you need more room than that drape sheet covers, use plastic wrap. Um, I've seen people that'll go through and they'll actually take pretty much a whole roll of stretch wrap or stretch tight, and they'll wrap like the entire bottom of a massage table, and then they'll run out of stretch wrap for the rest of the show, and it's like, what do? You have to borrow it from your neighbor now. Um, and it's like most people that are working at shows are more than happy to share whatever they bring. I know I am. Everyone I work with at every show, I'm like, hey, here's my box. If you need something, grab it. Don't even ask me. Just go in there, grab it, help yourself. As long as you save me a little bit of it just in case I need it, that's all I care about. Um, the only things that I won't do that with are things like my machines. I'm very protective over my machines. They each have their own names and they have their own beds that they like to sleep in. And you know, that makes them happy. And as long as they're happy, they do the job that I need them to do. And that's what matters. Um, but things like machines, I typically don't bring too many cartridges or needles with me just because I'm usually only bringing enough supplies to do an estimated number of tattoos that weekend, right? You don't need to bring a whole box of 5 liners because the chances that you're going to use all 20 cartridges of 5 liners in one weekend, pretty slim. So I'll bring, 5 or 6 of each grouping, and then if I end up having to need an extra one, either I'll go buy a box of them from a local distributor or I'll just ask one of my neighbors for one. And it works well. Um, most people are willing to share. So if you forget something, don't hesitate to ask your neighbor. Unless they're using needles on bar and you're using cartridges, then you have to find someone that's also using cartridges. Or if you're using needle on bar, maybe you now have to go and find someone else that's using needle on bar, which is kind of hard to find these days. But it is what it is. Uh,
I don't know if you probably use these. I don't know if you used them or not, but I have these. Uh, they're tubes. They're disposable tubes with a little plunger, so
yeah.
you can hook up a cartridge to a to a coil machine. It's brilliant. I mean it's quite a bit more. I guess it's not any more packed like plastic as a a disposable tube anyway. It's the same amount of stuff. But yeah, it's basically the whole it's the tube and the grip. And then you can just screw in your cartridge just like you would, and then you hook it up right to your coil machine. It is like it's cool. I mean, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Good way to a good way to sort of like be able to use your cartridges with a coil machine, to have that option. Um,
The only
needle
thing about
needle on
that,
bar, like needle on bar is. I mean, you know what? I have a bunch. To be honest, I have a lot of needle on bar. Um, I could sterilize them. They could. I'm sure they're not like they are sterilized, but I'm sure they're expired. So, but they could be redone. They could just be, you can steam autoclave those. Much
right,
more, it's much more like available than the EO gas stuff. I've heard all
right, right.
kinds of things about that, and itself. So it's a wild, it is a wild time that we're that we're looking
Yeah,
at in terms of what is it that's going to be again, what will the things look like that we can use. Um, I mean, it's just true. The government will have a lot more say in the things that
yes,
we're
it
allowed
will.
to use. I'm not trying to like fear monger anybody or be doom and gloom. It's just fact. It's a
Yeah,
fact. Like, so, you know, there's a, there's a new administration on the way. So there'll be a difference in how like the FDA is run. It's a fact. But also the FDA was going to get involved in regulating tattoos. Just so in case nobody knew, in case you didn't know that FDA is is going to they are going to start like regulating the ink and the products you use.
they've already passed the law. They're just
It's
waiting
already a
for
thing. That's already
implementation.
happening. But then you know how the how that office or how that bureau like functions will be totally subject to the new leadership. So
Sure.
yeah, I think there is it's gonna be very it'll be really important to stay up to date
Yes.
with all the new things that are coming your way. And I know
If I can if I can do a little plug here, I would like to say if you are interested in staying up to date with all of the new things and all of the new regulations, I would like to recommend that you join the APT. The APT is absolutely fantastic. They have been helping to regulate and set a lot of these standards that we currently have today. It is a nationwide organization for tattoo artists to help us go through and help us lobby with the government so that we can go through and do our jobs effectively and safely. They are fantastic. Highly recommend you join. Take a look. It's the APT. I think we even have a little QR code to join. Yes. So let me see. Yep, right up here, right in, oh, other side. It's right up here. Go ahead and take a look. Feel free to scan that with your mobile device. That is a QR code to join the APT. Highly recommend you do that. It will keep you up to date on all of the new developments and all of the new regulations coming to a city or town near you regarding tattooing. Where is, there we go. Cool.
well, I just
Oh,
want to thank you for that. I think
I
that
was
was
gonna say
nice. That's
it's
nice, and it's just one of these things where like we could organize, we could get organized as as the trade portion, right? And then there is a larger industry that supports the trade that we have, right? It's like again, like we all practice the craft of tattooing, and then we're in the trade portion of the industry that is the you know again, it's a part of a larger cultural industry as well. So they we are in an ecosystem, as it were. So uh, organize so we can have a voice. We can have a there might be some kind of a seat at the table, if you like that metaphor. In insofar as how the regulations are set, they are going to be set. They
correct.
will be set. So if you'd like
I did have a question
to,
for you.
yeah, shoot.
So you said that you use cartridges with coil machines.
You sure can. Sure
Okay,
can.
I've done that in the past,
Hmm.
and I found that I actually had to tune my coil machines a little bit differently to push
Mm,
past the resistance of the membrane of the cartridge
okay.
in order to get an accurate downward force without running my machine at, a ridiculously high voltage. Have you noticed any changes that you've had to make with the
I
machines
mean,
that you use?
not nothing really drastic. It like the whatever system I'm using, it works. It works really well. It just seems to
Okay.
work really well. The plunger fits. The plunger fits really well. So, but yeah, no, I think it's certainly worth looking into if if you use these equipments. It can be this is just another option, um, and uh, I don't know, like coil machines are, I think they have their place. They do things differently. They're different than
Yeah.
than the other ones, than the rotary ones.
I
So,
I do have a little hack for you as well.
oh, let's hear it.
If you like to use needle on bar, but if you don't want to take, a whole bunch of disposable tubes for different configurations with you to a show. Here's a little hack. Buy some of those disposable grips, right? Cartridge grips, doesn't need to have the plunger with them or anything like that. Buy a couple of cheap sample sets of cartridges off of, Amazon or wherever. And what you can do is you can actually take the needle portion of the cartridge out, screw in the tip, and now you've got a disposable tube for whatever configuration you need. Whether it's 15 mag or a 3 round liner, they're cartridges. They're universally adaptable to cartridge grips. So you take the needle portion out of the cartridge, put in the tip of the cartridge, which will lock into the grip, and now you've got a disposable tube for whatever you need.
It's kind of wild to hear to hear you talk about it. To be honest, it's like, well, I don't know if I'll ever do that. But like, it just seemed like back in the day, that was all we were ever doing. It,
Yeah,
whatever, like you had to, you had to be innovative all the time, even with all of the equipment that you bought.
yeah,
And I guess I'm like, I'm thinking like when I started 20 some odd years ago, that was sort of the case. That was you were just like you were always had to be. Well, there's a character from a television series in the like 80s called MacGyver. 80s
yes,
90s. MacGyver was a character who would always be in a jam. He would always be in a like a really tough situation, and we'd have to figure out some way to elegantly, an elegant solution to the problem. And so he would have to figure out uh, through ingenuity and creativity some solution with what was at hand, what was already at hand. And that was really a big part of the. I don't want to say it's not a part of it anymore. I think it's still it's really a big part of the spirit of what we to do this work. You probably are problem solving all the time, but there was just so much weird practical with your equipment with your equipment, trying to get your equipment when you made your own needles and you cleaned your tubes, right? You could reconfigure your tube so you had a different size grip or a different the tip would be different. That's the portion that the needle comes out of
yep,
the tip. So um, and your machine is infinite like amount of contingency, right? All these different things that you could sort of tweak. Um, Very analogous to like being able to be a mechanic on an automobile.
correct.
Like today's automobiles are very computerized, so it may not be there may not be a real mechanical. The fix may not be always mechanical. Might be like a computer problem or a software issue, and our machines may not be so far away from this
Right.
fate, as it were. So I don't know. I just it again. How do you pack to go? I like having a wireless rotary
Mm-hmm.
with with little cartridges. Um, I think that's it. It does make it a lot less bulky and a lot less sort of haul when you're traveling. So that part is certainly an innovation that I enjoy.
Absolutely. For me, when I switched over to going wireless, um, it was this revolutionary thing where I was like, so wait, I don't have to pack a whole bunch of disposable tubes with when I go. Like I just maybe just some grips. That's going to cut down. Wow, I can fit so much more stuff in my box. This is awesome.
Think about like using all those steel tubes all weekend, and then you got to carry them shits back. They're all dirty and
Yep.
gross. And you got to try to figure
Oh
out
yeah.
how do you carry that back with you. I'm sure everyone had a completely reasonable solution to that, but
Yeah.
it's gross, man. It's gross.
Well,
Anyway, I
that's
love
and I
being able
think
to throw
that's
shit away.
why
I think it's so much cleaner. It's crazy. It's crazy. But
I think that's why a lot of people started moving over to disposable grips and
sure,
disposable tubes.
yeah. No, it became the rules finally. Where like I moved to a new city and it was like, hey, this is the rules.
Yeah.
You can't, you know what I mean? Okay. So uh now I don't know particularly. I think it might have been a situation where I don't want to say that like autoclaves were ever banned anywhere. So don't take it that way. I think it was likely, you know, like this is we don't even have an autoclave at this shop. We're just doing disposable. That you bet you got to use them. You know what I mean? And just
Yeah.
times change, and you had to adapt with it. And it's like it was an innovation. It actually improved things. It was difficult to embrace it, accept it as a change that had to happen. But then once we did, once I did, it was things. It was actually a better reality, as it were. That's this my that's just my anecdotal sort of take on it. It was like it sucks. It sucks having to do more administrative stuff. It sucks like having to
Yeah.
like more rules to follow.
Well,
Sometimes
yeah,
though,
but I mean
sometimes it
that's
makes things better. I mean, I don't
that's
want to. I'm not
changed.
trying to say all rules are right or even they're even like presented in a good spirit, but um, like if there are products that aren't good or healthy for people, I don't want to use them. And then I also, I believe that people should be allowed to make informed consent. They should know.
Correct.
We should have a better idea about stuff like the the impacts of our decisions. Know more about that, and so you can decide whether it's whether the juice is worth the squeeze. I like this. I like this
It's a
metaphor.
good way to put it.
This I feel like this might be a Philadelphia ism. But I don't. It's like I think it's a lot of places, right? A lot of people. It's you know, uh, it really it I think it really translates to like this effort versus the risk versus the reward is what you're talking about. Is this sort of risk, is it worth the reward? And it may not prove to be the case. But well, anyway, Jason, this is an
Yes.
hour has flown by, and
It has indeed.
this was a great conversation. I'm feeling more prepared to go to the convention than I did beforehand. Um, it seems like we may have one more of these before we go.
We do. We do. Would also like to address one key thing about working at a show that some people will think it's common sense, other people might not. Bring a light, whether it's a headlamp, whether it's a floor lamp. It doesn't matter whether it's a clamp on lamp that you clamp on to the top rung of the booth you're at. Bring a light
Bring it.
because you're going to need it. No
Yeah.
matter how bright a tattoo convention hall is, it's not going to be bright enough to see everything that you're doing. And a lot of them are directly overhead, and that's going to cast a shadow. So if you're there and you're stretching and you're trying to pull a line and you're creating a little bit of a shadow,
Oh
you're not going
yeah.
to be able to tell where you're going.
Oh, it's
So
terrible.
bring a light,
It's terrible.
It's going
Yeah.
to save you headache. It's going to save you a lot of problems in the long run. Bring a light with you, please. It really, really helps. Um, and it can be something simple. It can be super cheap, you know, but bring one with you. Trust me, you'll need it. You don't have to spend $400 on a brand new, Light or a brand new Loom Cube or
Although that
Glamcore
would
or
be
anything like
nice.
that.
Those
But
Lou, those this is not a paid subscription, it's not a paid
yeah,
sponsorship, but those things are nice, bro. Have you ever seen those things?
yes, yes, I
Man,
have.
this double light, it's like, and it folds up into the bag. It's so little,
Mm-hmm.
and it just is
Well,
such a
same thing with
substantial light.
Glamcore.
I can't believe it. I really want one. I really want one. That it is that some of the yeah again some of the equipment these days it's just amazing. Um, but yeah, I I'm I can't express enough gratitude, so much gratitude to you, Jason, for your show, and then of
Thank you.
course, like you have a lot of experience going to tattoo conventions, and so I think it's very generous for you to share it with me and with everybody else here. So again, thank you so much. I gotta I gotta run. I got a tattoo. I gotta go. I
Yep.
gotta go tattoo.
I'm not too far behind you, man. I'm probably going to go through. Tell us how we can get in touch with you.
Well, you can find me on the internet, Tattooing Wisdom. Um, my website, tattooingwisdom.com. And of course, you can find us on tattoos.social because that's where we're at. We're
Yes. In fact, for
I got it.
people that are out there that want to join us,
Tattoos.social. Tattoos.social.
yay.
Yeah, it is.
There's a QR code. You can scan it right there using your mobile device. That will take you straight to the page where you can join tattoos.social.
It's like
Um,
it's like a social media platform. It's
it
so much
really
like one.
is.
It's just like one, but it's you know what? There's no bullshit on here yet. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there's no,
I
it's,
hope it stays cool. But it's like, but it's just it looks just like so it feels like social media. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I think it might be really cool. But yeah, but we're on here, and so I think uh, yeah, we're again. Gabe's been working really hard on that, and we've been all going at it for a little while. And there's an app for your phone now.
yes,
There's
which
a
I did recently
tattoos.social app.
download.
I mean, I've been going to the browser, but it's like there's an app. I got it on my phone. I just boop, I'm in there. It's so
Yep.
convenient. And again, what's nice too is all the different groups that are in there. I've got Fireside, I've got Lowbrow Know How, Reinventing, Tattoo Career Builders with Derek Youngberg. Amazing, amazing financial coach. So, and of course, the Tattoo Now Roundtable, which is really, I think, been vital to learning more about business marketing and using customer relations management software tools, pipeline marketing, like uh, it's a great space. Anyway, you can get all that at tattoos.social. So
Check it out.
I hope people see people there. Anyway, Jason, thank you so much, bro. I
Thank you
will,
very
of
much.
course. How about let me bow out, let you finish up, and I will see you. I'll see you next Monday for
Okay,
sure.
sounds great.
All right, peace.
Take care. For those of you that are still sticking around, still listening, um, come take a look. Tattoos.social. It's been an absolute pleasure to host this show for everyone today. As always, if you ever have any questions about working at a convention or tattoos in general, or if you want to reach out and say hi, you can always get a hold of me. You can go right up here to my Instagram at Philly Inc. And you can send me a DM. I usually respond pretty quickly. Thank you for everyone that's watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Catch us every week as we go through and do these shows. And I will catch everyone next week for episode 177. Thanks a lot. Keep those hands. I'll catch you guys